Last year I wrote an article for Ski Canada magazine. I believe it was in the October edition, and it was about boot fitting and the way boots are manufactured. And it explained in detail how people go down the wrong path to get a properly fit boot. So I just thought we'd take a moment here to do it on video, so if you want to, you don't have to read it. So the title of the article was The Right Fit. Most of the time I expect when you've walked into a ski shop, the boot fitting scenario is kind of like this. The person you're talking to says, what do you ski? You say, whatever. I'm an intermediate, I'm a beginner, I'm an expert, and they measure the length of your foot, don't look at anything else about your foot, and then go and get you a boot. And if you're an intermediate, they get you an intermediate boot. Here's the problem with that scenario. The problem is, and you might be able to see it, I think these are in the camera now, but if not, we'll get them there later. The problem with that scenario is boots don't come in different widths according to your ski capability. In other words, all beginner boots are wide, without exception. All boots that we call race boots, and notice I said call race boots because it's just a title. All boots that we call race boots are narrower, without exception. There are no wide race boots. There are no narrow beginner boots. So what that means is that when you go and buy a boot according to whether you're a beginner or an expert, you're buying the width automatically. At the same time, you're completely ignoring the width of your foot. So my foot is a C-width foot. It's been a C-width foot when I was a beginner skier, and it's a C-width foot now that I'm not a beginner skier. It didn't vary at all, no surprise, as I got better. So if I put my foot in a typical beginner's boot, actually this is a higher level boot than what we would call beginner's boot. But if I put my foot in and move it side to side, I think you can, and this is my size boot, I think you can see all the room that's there. I mean, there's just so much slop there. And we might like to think this would be a comfortable boot because it's so spacious. In fact, it's not only does it ski poorly for me, but it's very uncomfortable as well. It's uncomfortable because instead of distributing the pressure I want the boot to put on my foot, instead of distributing it evenly all around my foot, it's only in very small areas. So the widest part of my foot will have a little bit of pressure, and the rest of my foot will just be spacious. So all the pressure the boot does exert on my foot is in one small area. If I get in another boot that we'll call a race boot, and this is a Rossi recreational race boot, same size boot, if I get in this, can you see the difference in the amount of room? So not only is this boot going to ski much better for me, but even though it's narrower, it's actually a substantially more comfortable boot. I can never be comfortable in this boot, and I can always be comfortable in this boot. I may have to modify it slightly. Maybe there's a little bump here on my toe that I need to move out a bit, but I can always make this boot comfortable. I can never make this boot comfortable. I can never make this boot ski well for me, and I can always make this boot ski really well for me. So when we're buying boots, we shouldn't be worrying about the title at all, or I'll say the label. What we should do is have our foot measured for width. Somebody should assess where our foot is wide and where it's narrow. In my case, I have a C-width foot, which is, interestingly enough, although we call race boots narrow, race boots are C-width boots. You saw my foot can still move slightly side to side, and that's the narrowest recreational boot I can buy. So the narrowest recreational boot really fits most people because C-width is the average foot width in North America. So rather than worrying about the label of the boot, we should have our foot measured for width, have our foot measured for length, and that's how we should be buying a boot. It's convenient that even race boots are made soft enough for beginner skiers. So what should vary when we buy a boot is not the label. If you're a C-width, you should be in a race boot. What will vary is that if you're a good high-level skier, I'll buy that race boot very stiff, or I'll sell it to you very stiff. And if you're a beginner skier, I'll sell it to you very soft. But if we use this model, we're buying boots according to how they fit instead of according to our ability level, which really it has no influence on how the boot fits anyway.